This is Chapter 1, the Reading-Writing Connection. The purpose of this chapter is to use effective reading strategies to determine a written work's purpose, asking oneself, what is the purpose? The second, who's the intended audience? It's important to understand who the audience is, whether you're reading or you're writing. Also, there will be a strategy discussed within this chapter that's useful for helping you analyze your reading and writing assignments. To start off, we have the quote for the chapter, and this quote is by Toni Morrison. The quote is, "There's nothing more exciting to me than to read books." Again, this is by Toni Morrison. In the above quotation, why might author Toni Morrison find reading so exciting? How do Morrison's feelings about reading compare to your own? So what you need to do is take 5 minutes, think about what she's saying and why she may have said this, and then think about if your feelings are the same as hers or if they're different. Again, take about 5 minutes to do this. Now, within this chapter, there are four learning outcomes. The first learning outcome is understanding reading and writing assignments. What reading strategy was discussed within this chapter to help you understand your reading and writing assignments? Make sure you write this down. Learning outcome 2 is using the traits for reading and writing. What are the traits? There are 6 of them. Make sure that you understand what the traits are as well as what they do. So it's not enough to just be able to list them off. What do they do? So be prepared to know this and discuss it in class. An example of this is which one of the traits is the first one and which one is the most important, and be able to explain that. Number 3, use graphic organizers for reading and writing. What's the purpose of a graphic organizer? Be able to answer that question. Also, what can they help you do? That's another question you probably should find the answer to. And finally, learning outcome number 4, review the reading and writing connection. So this is basically a review of the chapter. You want to make sure that you're familiar with this and that you're able to answer the questions at the end of this video. Now, learning outcome number 1, understanding reading and writing assignments. So the strategy discussed within this chapter to help you better understand your reading and writing assignments is the STRAP strategy. S-T-R-A-P, STRAP. You can use a STRAP strategy to help you analyze your reading and writing assignments. That's its main intent. So it is to help you analyze your reading and writing assignments. Now, again, what does each letter of the STRAP strategy stand for? The first letter is S. It stands for subject. T, type. R is for role. A is for audience. And P is for purpose. The questions that you ask will be different depending on whether it is that you're analyzing reading or you're analyzing a written assignment. For example, for subject, you may ask yourself, what specific topic does this reading address? So as a reader, you want to know what specific topic that the reading addresses. As a writer, you will want to know what specific topic should I write about. So the purpose of this is to help you stay focused and to understand exactly what it is you should be looking for when you're reading something, or what it is that you should be writing about specifically as a writer. You also want to know why this is important, because as a writer, you want to make sure that you are focused, because if you are all over the place, then your reader is going to be all over the place. Now, as someone who is reading something, you want to make sure that you know what the specific topic is, because this will help you to stay on task, and it will also help you to understand what the main idea is or what the writer wants you to take away from the reading. So it's important to know what the specific subject is, whether you're reading or you're writing, in order for you to better understand what's going on or what you should be doing. The next thing is type. And with type, you're going to ask yourself, what form should the essay take? So as a reader, what form should the essay take in terms of, am I writing a paragraph? Will I be writing a textbook? A paragraph will be 5 to 6 sentences. A textbook is going to be multiple pages. So you need to know exactly what it is that you are doing when you are considering form. So is it an essay? Is it a chapter? Is it a textbook? Is it a magazine? Those different types of things. As a writer, you want to know exactly what it is that you're as a reader, you want to know exactly what it is that you're reading, because you're going to approach your reading in different ways. For example, the way in which you are going to read a textbook chapter for a class is not going to be the same way that you are going to read a magazine that you are leisurely reading. So also you need to be able to think about, when you are doing those types of things, how are you going to approach this? Will you approach the reading of a magazine the same way as you would approach the reading of a textbook? The next thing you have is role. So as a reader, you want to know what role the writer takes. So for example, if you're reading an open letter from a student who receives tickets on campus for parking. So a student received tickets for parking on campus, and so they're writing a letter to the school newspaper, and they're wanting to talk about how upset they are, and they don't feel like it makes very much sense for them to have to pay tickets or to even not be able to park on campus because it's a closed campus. But then you have to consider that person's role. Now think about if there was someone who worked at traffic and parking and they were the ones issuing tickets. Will they have the same role as the student? For one, they're not really suffering the financial impact because they're not paying for the tickets. But at the same time, they may see the points in issuing a ticket simply because if a student is parked on campus, perhaps in a handicap parking spot, if there's someone who needs that spot, this person does not have the spot. Now, if there are no consequences, then anyone can park anywhere. So they will have different roles. Therefore, the way that the information you should take away from that piece of writing will be different. Now, when you consider your role as the writer, you want to think about it in the same way. What is my role? Am I writing this as a concerned citizen? Am I writing this as a participant? Am I writing this as an observer? So the role that you have will be different will determine what type of writing that you're going to do and the voice in which you're going to speak to your readers. The next thing will be your audience, and within this one, you're going to ask the same question. Who is my intended audience? Whether you are, or what is the intended audience? Whether you are reading something, you want to know who is the audience. So let's just go back to the example with students getting tickets on campus. Who is the audience? If I'm an angry student, my audience is going to be other students so that way, they can feel what I'm feeling. Or maybe my audience is going to be people who work in the ticket office and I want you to know how upset I am. On the other hand, when I am reading something, I want to know exactly who the person is or exactly who my audience is so I know how to appeal to my audience. If I'm wanting to appeal to other students so that way we can petition to change something, then I know that the things I'm talking about, they need to appeal to other students. If I am writing to someone in the ticket office to try and get a ticket dismissed, I'm going to talk to them totally different than I will talk to students. So you want to be cognizant of your audience. The last thing is the purpose. So within the purpose, that is, as a reader, you're asking yourself, what is the goal? So in other words, what am I supposed to take out of this when you ask, what is the goal? So within that, if you're reading a textbook, what is your goal? Generally, people don't just pick up textbooks just to read them for fun. The goal is to obtain some sort of information because you know that eventually you'll be quizzed on it, you'll be tested on it, assessed, you'll get any of that, or because you know that it's needed to complete something else. Whereas, again, if you're reading a magazine, what is the goal? Maybe you just want to be entertained. Maybe you just want to find out some information, so maybe to inform. Anytime that you see purpose, it will be to something. As a writer, if your purpose is to inform someone, then all you are doing is giving strict information. That's it, unbiased information. If your purpose is to persuade, then you are giving information that is going to try and persuade somebody to your line of thinking. If your purpose is only to entertain someone, then you're only maybe using satire because your only purpose is to entertain. So you'll need to know that. So again, that's the strap strategy. Now, the next thing is going to be an example of practice for this. So to practice, do not write the paragraph, but this prompt is here to help guide you for the strap strategy. So write a paragraph explaining how to use a social networking website such as Facebook or Twitter. Write to older adults who have little experience with social media. Use the strap strategy to help guide you. So again, subject. Remember again, the subject is specific. So who is the specific person that what specifically are you wanting someone to know? So if they were to look at the strap strategy, they'd be able to understand exactly what's going on. So within this, what specific topic am I going to need to write about? So the first one we'll talk about in class. Then you have type. What is the type? If you were to actually have to do this, what is the type? What form will this be if you were to actually have to do this? The next thing, role. What role would you assume if you were to actually physically have to carry this out? Not the writing of the paragraph, but if you were to actually have to explain to someone how to use this. So what role would you take, or anyone take, who had to teach this to someone? The next thing, audience. Who would be the intended audience if you were to actually carry this out? And then finally, the purpose. What would the purpose be? If you were doing this, what's the purpose? So do this for some practice. The next thing we have learning outcome 2, and this is using the traits for reading and writing. The traits of writing, they help you to gain a full understanding of your reading assignments and develop your own paragraphs and essays, and this is on page 6. The traits identify key elements of written language. So these traits are ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. The traits of reading are going to be on page 29 to 64, and the traits of writing are going to be on page 87 to 108. So the traits are important because they're the building blocks of your writing. So everything that you write is going to depend on your traits. Now, as previously mentioned, while which trait is the most important? So again, you want to make sure that you think about this and you write it down. Which trait is the most important? Now, to answer and be able to know the answer to that question and then discuss it. The traits of reading are in chapter 3, and the traits of writing are on chapter 5. So when you're reading to identify, you're looking for the thesis or the main points or the main ideas. So whenever you want to identify something, you want to make sure that you look at the thesis, because this should have the central idea or the main points or main idea. The next thing you want to ask yourself is, what trait will go under this? Now, this trait that's going to help you identify the main idea is going to be, of course, ideas. To help you identify the main idea will be ideas. This is going to be the main topic or your main point. When you're writing the shape, this is going to help you with the details or your thoughts on the topic. This will help you further the details of your main point as well as your thesis statement. So again, you have your ideas, which are going to be the trait in which you use for this. And then to help you further flesh out everything, you want to make sure that you add details to help you shape your writing. Now, learning outcome 3, this is using graphic organizers for reading and writing. There are a couple of graphic organizers, and we'll go through some of them. They're very useful for people who are visual learners. They're useful for a lot of people, but people who are especially visual learners, graphic organizers are easier for them to conceptualize as opposed to a bunch of text on a paper or on a page. So a question you can ask yourself when you're looking at this is, what is a line diagram used for? Not just to be able to point out a line diagram and say, oh, well, this is a line diagram. You want to be able to say, this is a line diagram and this is what it's used for. So a line diagram is used to collect and organize details, and it's best used for informational essays. So be able to say, this is the graphic organizer, and this is what it's used for. So what type of writing or what type of essay is it used for? So a line diagram is best used for informational essays and to classify and organize. Well, they're all used for organizing, but to classify information and give examples. The next thing is going to be a Venn diagram. So what is a Venn diagram best suited for? So be able to address that. Then the next thing you have a process diagram. What is it best suited for? Now you want to make sure that you understand that a process diagram uses steps, as it says here, step 1, step 2, and step 3. So it makes sense that it follows a logical order. What type of writing is it best suited for? The next thing you have after that, more graphic organizers. So you have a timeline. Now, what is a timeline best suited for? What type of writing is it best suited for? Keep in mind that a timeline must be in order. You cannot switch the order. So if you look at it, it has to follow this order. So if you look at the examples that are in this one, first someone graduated, they were accepted to tech, moved to campus, and then moved to the dorm, had a random night of fun, and then first day of classes. You can't switch this. You can't move 2 and 1 and say, okay, someone visited campus, they moved into the dorm, then they graduated and were accepted to tech. Generally, that's not how it works. You have to be accepted before you can move into the dorm. So this is chronological order. The order cannot be moved. It has to follow this exact order. The next thing you have is a cause and effect graphic organizer. What type of writing is that best suited for? Here's a hint. The type of essay is within the title. And then the next thing you have is a cluster diagram, and a cluster diagram, again, is kind of similar to the timeline in that it's best used for classifying and just information. All right, and learning outcome number 4 is review of the reading and writing connection. So the first question is, what is the STRAP strategy? Now keep in mind the question is, what is the STRAP strategy? Meaning, what is it used to do? Question number 2, what does each letter of the STRAP strategy stand for? Question number 3, which is the first and most important trait? Make sure that you understand that one. Number 4, let's see. Okay, number 4, what key trait deals with the arrangement of details? Now, the key word here is arrangement. So understand what arrangement means, and this will help you find out which trait is the answer to that question. And then number 5, which trait deals with the rules for language correctly? Now, generally, in semesters past, students just throw out words, listen to what or read what it says. Which trait deals with the rules of using language correctly? So that will help you understand, key word being rules. So this is the end of chapter 1. Again, make sure that you read this, you understand it, you answer questions, and we will discuss this in class.